Hi everyone, we are going to go over the main concepts about classes and inheritance. So we are going to cover more topics such as the concept of destructor. So we learned about the constructor. It allows us to create objects and initialize or uh, assign values to our variables and attributes. But this structure does exactly the opposite, which is basically remove that object and free up space, memory space. All right, so let's use a project about Gradebook project to put into practice this concept. We can also learn about the virtual function, okay? So this just creating a new project. I called it Gradebook. Now, as you can see right here, I saved it in a Gradebook subfolder, create. So what we're going to do first, we are going to create a bunch of classes. The first one is the class grade. It's a very simple class that allows us, basically has only one variable called score, but it has some functions such as the letter grade that takes a score or basically converts our score into a letter grade like A, B, C. So let's get started. So we are going to create our class. So add and then class. Now, so when you create a class, the program basically create two separate files: the header files, the one that ends with .h, and then the CP file where the implementation is. So the first one, okay. So this class, as I said, very simple. So we always start with file statement. If not defined, grade underscore h, we define it. So define grade underscore h, and then we make sure we have end f at the end. So this class grade, so we start with the variable. So we have only one variable called score. And then as far as the functions, we have, of course, the constructor. We're going to create two. So we have grade, the default constructor. And this one just assign the value of 0 to our score. And then we're going to create another one that takes an integer and assign it to our variable score. So score equals S. And then we need get score accessor. We need setter, set score. And then get letter grade. So this basically convert our numeric grade into a letter grade. So we're going to put here, if the grade is higher or equal than 90, then return A. Else if grade is higher or equal than 80, then return, I'm sorry, it's not grade, it's score. Okay. I think probably it's better if you leave this one till the implementation. So we're going to use the prototype here. So we're just going to put get letter grade. Now here it is underlined because we need to include the other files. So include IO screen and then using name space std. All right. So get letter grade. So we're gonna do this one in the implementation, so we don't have to. All right. So that's all. Maybe we can use display. You can add another one called display. So display basically just shows the score. All right. So that's the first one. So now let's go to the CPP file. So the CPP file, let's include iostream using namespace std. Let's start with we do have the code structure already set up. So just have the other four functions. So get score. So we always start with the return type, and then we put the name of the class, and then two column, and then the function get score. So this one just return score. And then we have the setter set score in case you want to change the value. So then of course s score equals s. And then we have string get letter grade. So this will depend on the score. If the score is higher or equal than 90, then we're going to return A. Else if the score is higher or equal than 80, then we're going to return B. And else if score is higher or equal than 70, then return C. And finally, else, whatever, if it's not A, B, or C, then it must be F. Okay, so we are done with the grade here. We need just the display. So the display, we just display the score. Display. Return score, or you can put C out. Grade is. All right, so that's done. Now let's move on to the next class. We're going to create a class called a student. Student has different grades. So one of the attributes of the students, besides the name, is an array, or it's better to use the vector, or vector of grade. So I'm going to right click and do the same thing, class. So we're going to call it student. Automatically, the two files are created. Now, what attributes do we have? So let's start with the header files. So we always started just going to copy it from here. So just save some time. So copy all of this. And then paste it here. We just have to change the name of the class. And then of course, and F. All right. So what do we have for students? By the way, this relationship between students and grade is called composition, because student has, so this is called has a relationship. Okay, a student has a grade, a car has a tire. So whenever this kind of relationship exists, it's called composition, because this a grade is a component, is one of the things that the students should have. All right, so we have private, we have the name of the student, and then we're going to use a vector. So that's why we need to have the vector here include a vector. So vector of grade. So vector, and then we have grade here. So that's why we need to also include the grade. Include the grade.h. Okay, so we have vector of grade, and then we're going to give it a name of grade. Okay, so this is the only variable we're going to use. We may use others, but we're going to stick to this two. And then we have the function. So always start with the constructor. So for student, then we have the name only, and then the grades we are going to use. We're going to prompt the user to enter this information. I'm going to add them to the vector grades. Okay. So we're going to put name equals n, and then for the grades, we are going to ask. So we may need some variable here. So let's say num, we have to ask how many students do we have. And also we need another for every grade we're going to add. Okay, so let's ask. So when you create an object, automatically this code will be executed. It's going to ask the user how many students, and then it's going to ask him for the grades, and then we're going to add them to the vector grades. So I'm going to put here, let's say, hey, and then I'm going to put the name of the person. Okay, how many students do you have? Or how many grades, I'm sorry, how many grades do you have? So that's, we need this one to use it for the loop. So we're gonna save it in num students. Okay, we're gonna use the loop I equals 0, I less than num student. So we are going to ask the user enter this information. So enter the grade. Of course, this will be repeated num student times. So once we get that information, then we're going to add it. So we're going to put here CINGR. Okay. And then we're going to add it to the, so we use grades that push back. And then we need to add what? Not numbers, because this is a vector of grades. That's why we have grade here. It has to be a grade object. That's why we need to put grade. This grade, if you go back to the CPP file, it takes a number. That's the grade we need to enter. So we're going to put grade and then here put .gr. So remember, we are adding the grade object, not the integer here, because we have a vector of type grade, not type integer. So that's going to add them up. Okay, now we did the student. And then we just have to finish the rest. So we need, like, for example, for the grades, what do we need? Like name, so get name. And then we don't have to change the name. Then we maybe find the highest. So we can create one called highest grade. And then average grade, because yes, vector of grades, we're going to find the average grade in there. Okay, we may add display also if you want to display this information. So display. So this is the header file. The implementation, we are going to do it in the CPP file. So we need to add all this information. So here we have include. We need the grade 1, so let's grade.h. And then include iostream. And then using namespace std. So we have the construction, we don't have to worry about it. So we just need the rest. So we put the name of the class, two column, and then we put get name. So that's going to return the name. And then we have the highest grade. Okay, what did we name it? Highest grade. So highest grade. So of course we know how to find the highest grade. We're going to go through the vector. So we need a variable for it. So let's call it high. Start from 0 because all the grades are positive. And then we're going to say for every number in our grade, so we're going to use the enhanced loop. So if so grades dot size, because we have a size. No, grades dot size. We'll just use the normal one. I equals 0 are less than grades dot size I plus. So we're going to put here if grades I that get score is higher than high, then high must be the highest grade. So here, put the parentheses. So high is grade I get score. And then don't forget to return high. So this is highest grade. Now what else do we have? We have the average. So do something similar. Students average grade. So we need a variable, sum, and then we're going to do the same thing for I less than grade that size I plus plus. So we are going to add, so we're going to put sum plus equal grades I that gets score. And then when we return, we have to divide it by the size. So return sum divided by grades that size, so we can get the average. Okay, so here average grade. So let's check, make sure it's average grade. Oh, it says double. That's why. So make sure here the return type is double. Right. Now what else do we have? We have one more, which is display. So it's void, and then the name of the class, and then display. So display basically just put the name and maybe like the average grade. So we're going to put here CL. Okay, let's say the name of the student. Let's say student name is name. And then next line, I'm going to put grade is score. Or we can just put the average grade. Average grade is, and then we call the function average grade. Okay, so now we have the grade class, and then we have the student class. So let's add, before we add another subclass, which is the college students class, let's put the tester first, what the main function is. So I will add another file, the tester. So go new item, I'm going to call it just tester. So I need to include all the information. So we have the grade dot h, and then we have the students dot h, and then include iostream using namespace st. of course, the main function. Now let's have an example of a student object. So we're going to put student, of course, it takes a name. So let's call it my. So once I call the constructor, so that's going to trigger all this code right here, all this code in the constructor that we have. So that's going to get all the grades and then add them to the vector grades for that particular student. Now we forgot here to add, as I mentioned earlier, we're going to add something called destructor. So what is a destructor? A destructor is the opposite of constructor. Basically allows us, after we finish the program, to get rid of that object because there is no reason for it to stay there, just taking space. So how do we do it? It's the same thing. We just add this symbol right here, and then it's the same name as the class name. And then we can put something just to show that it did take effect. So let's say, for example, this student no more exists, for example. So when we get this message, that means that the structure was executed and then it took effect. Okay? So now let's have an example here in the tester. So we created one, and now, okay, we have to give it a name, student S1. Okay? Now, if we use, for example, S1 that average grade, let's see if this is going to work. Look, when I run the program, hopefully there is no error. I have an error. Need to fix that. What is the error? Type integer unexpected and declare type unexpected, and it's in Gradebook project, the student age. So I'm going to go to the header files and see where I have the problem. So here I have the student, I have grade. Hey, name, how many grades do you have for each one of them? So enter the grade, I got the grade, push back grade, GR. And here I forgot to put the, let's see here, so it is unexpected. Oh, I need to say declared GR. Oh, that's a mistake right here. Can either put, I don't have to, I didn't have to repeat it. But now let's do it again and see if that solves the problem. So we're going to run the program and see. So we created an object S1. As you can try here, hey Mike, how many grades do you have? Let's say 3. So the grade, let's say 40, 60, and 70. Here we go. And then we have the average. But look right here, look at the name. This student no more is. So at the end of the program, the destructor is called. That means that's going to free up the space for that object. Now in other programming languages like Java, it does it automatically. There is a system in place called garbage collector. So whenever there is an object that's now no more used, or variable that points to an object that does no more work or exist, then it will get rid of it and free up space in the memory. But in C++, it gives you that ability or that power to use it. Okay. Now we just call another one right here. So let's say so now the highest grade, I can do the same thing, see out. And we could display, for example, S1.display. So it will display all the information. So let's run the program, and it's the same thing. So how many? Let's say 3, 60, 70, 80. And then student name, Mike, the average grade is 70. And then, okay, I forgot to, to put, to start a new line. So always at the end, this statement, this student no more exists to show that there is a destructor was called to get rid of that object after being used at the end of the program. Okay, so this is pretty much what we are not done. This is just part one. So in the next part, we are going to create another subclass called college student, and we can apply certain concept. We're going to learn about a virtual function. We're going to also learn about how to use private, protected, and public. What's the difference between these three? All right. So see you in the next lecture. Thank you.